Muathe with Muathe.com. As we continue breaking apart this one single stock, the idea here that I'm using is you can really find a lot of information, a lot of data within one chart. So there's so much that you can, try and understand in terms of trying to decide which direction an instrument is moving. Lots of information on one single chart. So here we stick with the same chart. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to take a look at RSI setting of 50. All right. Now before I do that, let me just remind you that what we're going to be talking about is what I call the RSI 50 crossing. But for the particular purpose of this video, take a look at this playlist here, and it's the same RSI crossing but with a different understanding. Now we're going to be looking here at support and rejection, and or rejection with uniform activity, which is the key. All right, so you can learn more by taking a look at this playlist. It's gonna be in the description, so check that link. So RSI 50. Now let's play around with some numbers just for fun. So we know that 38.2 is a Fibonacci number. We know that 61.8 is where that derives from. We add all this, we get 100, right? Now what we're gonna do is let's play around here with the numbers and take 38.2, divide that by 2. What we get is 19.1. all right, so let's take the one number we were talking about in the prior video. 69.1 minus 19.1, what do we get? We get 50. Okay, now let's do this. Let's take 30.9 plus, and let's go plus 19.1, so scratch that off. What do we get? We get 50. So we can see here that actually 50 is just not a number on the RSI. It has something to do with the Fibonacci numbers somehow. So we see that we can get to 50 by playing around with the Fibonacci numbers. We end up with the same level that I want to talk about. Anyway, that was side business. Let's take a look at the all data monthly. Here we can see uniform activity support at the RSI 50 level. Was that good enough to suggest that there was going to be a bounce and a move to new highs? Well, of course we can see that the stock did go on to record a test of the highs and an improvement. In other words, it tested the highs and actually went above it. We can even say that this was uniform activity, bounce above 50, back below it. No, above 50 and staying above it for the lows there, and of course it went on to record an improvement in price highs. On this chart, on the monthly, we can also see here uniform activity rejection, and even here uniform activity rejection for the highs on a monthly closing basis here and here. So pretty much what I'm saying is, as far as the 50 level is concerned, anytime, so if we say this is 50, assuming that is a 50 line, anytime you get any type of uniform activity support, it could be something like this, it could be something above it, but uniform action, or maybe even something like that. As long as it is uniform action, it bounces back with support at the RSI 50 line. That tends to suggest that prices are gonna recover. All right, that's what we are saying here. And at the same time, if you assume that this is RSI 50, and RSI is coming and showing this type of action, any type of uniform action around the 50 line tends to suggest that prices are being rejected. So why don't we take a look at the same chart but go to the weekly for more instances of support and rejection. Let's go here as a 2-year weekly, but let's go back. What I have here is a weekly chart for WTB, and I'm just going to highlight areas where it found uniform activity support to see whether it can give us good evidence of that phenomenon. Here we have uniform activity below 50 back above it for the lows here. The stock would go on to record a retest of the highs and an improvement. Here we have uniform activity below 50 back above it for the lows here. Ultimately, the stock went on to test the highs and actually make an improvement. Here we came close to the 50 line and held for the lows here. The stock would go on to make a test of the previous highs and actually in this particular instant went to new highs. Here we have uniform activity at RSI 50. Remember, this is weekly chart between 2010 and 2017. Here is the lows corresponding with this RSI 50 support, uniform activity bounce. The stock went to make similar highs, if not an improvement. Here we have uniform activity support for the lows here, and again the stock went on to test the previous highs and actually made an improvement. We can even say this was uniform activity below 50 and back above it for the lows here, and that was good enough for the stock to test the highs and actually make an improvement. In fact, here was another support with uniform activity at RSI 50 for the lows here. Ultimately, the stock would go on to test the highs, did not exceed those highs, but there was a bounce, which is the key, what I'm trying to say. Now we change and we can see that ever since this drop here, there was uniform activity rejection at RSI 50, and we can see here that the stock made a short-term high here, went on to record lower highs, tested the lows and actually broke them. This is uniform activity above 50 back below it for the lows, for the highs there, and we can see that the stock would go on to record, actually since then it has gone all the way to test the lows, broke the lows. Here we have uniform activity above 50 and back below it, and what we see also is we made highs here and the stock has gone on to test the lows. So we can see that yes, uniform activity works. In fact, if you take a look at a closer view, the same chart, now we're going to zoom into the last 2 years, and you can see the uniform activity a little bit better. Uniform activity rejection for the highs here. The stock goes on to test the lows, actually breaks them. Uniform activity above the 50 level and back below it. That uniform action tells you this is a high, and also that the stock is gonna make new lows or test the lows. Here we made new lows, tested the lows and recorded new lows there. Uniform activity, this is not the best looking uniform activity, so I would say maybe you can take this one off, that's fine, but I would use it as uniform activity above that 50 level, back below it, and also you can see that gave us the high. Stock would go on to test the closing lows here. The closing lows were actually here, so we can see that it tested those closing lows, exceeded them. So you can use that information, is all I'm saying, for swing trading. Alright, that's it for now. Eric Muathe with Muathe.com, and again, for more information on this, check out this playlist on my YouTube channel, and that's the name of it, and I'll have it in the description. Good luck, peace and blessings. Yes. Mwah.